Broadcasting live from the Zimmer Communications World Headquarters. This is Wake Up Mid-Missouri.
Get ready, pal.
Here's your host, Randy Tobler.
Just recently learned that the murderer of Rachel Marin, a beautiful young mother of 5, was a savage degenerate from El Salvador who raped and beat her after doing something similar in El Salvador. Yet Joe Biden, rather than getting serious about immigrant crime, is about to give amnesty to more than 1 million illegal aliens.
Well, just a little bit more than a week away from the big debate and the immigration issue, among, if not the top, among the top issues of the day, percolates to the surface, and that story comes out over the weekend. We have a lot to talk about those issues. And ahead of this debate watch, things are heating up in this political season. Welcome into this Monday morning edition, post-Father's Day weekend of Wake Up Mid-Missouri. The whole gang's here. I see Stephanie back from you don't look sunburnt from your concert venue the other day?
Weekend. Yeah, well, it was in the evening. But yeah, how was your Father's Day, Randy?
It was great. Hung out
Good.
at the pool. I did some beer can chicken in case you didn't see.
I heard you had to do some unmentionable things to that chicken.
Yeah, it was a chickenoscopy that we did. And producer Hannah's back. It was a chickenoscopy.
Yikes.
And John Marsh over there. John, you ever made any beer can chicken?
Oh, yeah, sure.
It's great stuff. Great stuff.
Pretty simple.
The secret's in the rub, though. I mixed up several secret ingredients on the rub.
Uh-oh.
It was super good. Little brown sugar, dry mustard, some... I don't know what else
Not
was
a
in there.
secret anymore.
Chili.
Yeah.
Well, I'm telling you the secret. That's good.
I like how John goes, oh, yeah, it's pretty simple. And Randy's over there like he's Gordon Ramsay.
No, that's why I liked it, because it was simple. It was just simple. We just hung out. And, of course, Brian Hauswirth will be in a little bit later. So, yes, this immigration issue is number one, as far as I'm concerned, over the weekend. There was political news as well. But this woman was murdered by a 23-year-old illegal immigrant who was escaping prosecution from El Salvador, where he had murdered a similarly aged young woman, and apparently had assaulted someone last year, and I think stabbed her child in Los Angeles. I mean, unbelievable carnage there. The Veep stakes are heating up, and it seems as though the list may be shortening. At a turning point, a little straw poll the other day, J.D. Vance coming out way on top. I mean, running away from the others in that heat. And
the clock's ticking down, right? Trump
Yep.
said basically he's going to announce the week of the RNC convention, which we're about a month. About a month away.
We're about there, and and that'll just be a few days. 4 or 5 days after. He is either put on house arrest or an ankle bracelet or spends a night in jail, or we don't know what's going to happen. A lot of speculation there. But and then this apparently through the executive order, the power of the pen, Biden is going to give essentially amnesty called parole in place. That's what's being reported either today or tomorrow to the spouses of the illegal immigrant spouses of people in the states that I guess are here, or I don't know, maybe legal immigrants or otherwise, that have been here for more than 10 years. So once again, he's just going to continue to blow by all of the rules. He doesn't care about border security. It doesn't matter. Illegals can just come in, hang out, go beneath the shadows for 10 years, and then you get sort of like loan debt forgiveness. Then you just get forgiven. Everything's okay, right, Anna?
And you can vote, right?
Yeah, and then you can vote. That's what it is.
Kind of back to what we heard from him the first time on the campaign trail, where he promised he'd open the borders and all that stuff, then claimed to go back on it. Now he's back to square one again.
And new this morning, multiple sources familiar with the White House's plans tell NBC News that President Biden is set to take executive action as early as Tuesday to protect hundreds of thousands of undocumented spouses of U.S. citizens from deportation.
Well, there you go. And they'll be given voter registration forms in 49 states, and it's all just coming to fruition exactly the way they planned, right? It's the great replacement. How can you look at this any other way? They're living, what changes with this order other than they become voters, and they become voters for Joe Biden? I mean, and, you know, if he's still the nominee at the end of the day. And then this, speaking of concerts, now you were at a Oliver Anthony, or is it Anthony Oliver?
Oliver Anthony.
Okay. He's the guy that broke through out of nowhere. He was in a very small little grew up in squalor, and then he just blew it out all over the place with his emergence. What was that song?
Richmond, north of Richmond.
Yeah, wow. And I remember we talked about that when it came out. It was really, and he's still pretty modest, huh? I mean, on the stage.
Yeah, I mean, he declined like a big record deal, and then I mean, you would have thought we were at a Trump rally on Saturday
I saw your
night,
posting. Yeah,
Saturday night in Camdenton. I mean, I hope none of those people show up with their T-shirts, Hannah, for our T-shirt competition and our debate watch, because
I was wondering
they might win. There were some really good ones, and so yeah, no, I mean, he had some pretty political things to say from the stage, which I appreciated. He also did a lot of reading straight from the Bible. He sang a lot of covers. Obviously, he's got one really popular song. He just came out with a new song. He sang that one. But, you know, you always worry about folks like that a little bit. But the vocals and the music was right on. And it was a great night.
That's great. And it just looked like a rocking crowd, too. I mean,
It was sold out.
Yeah, I saw what your post there. It was great. So that was a big concert, but George Strait.
Yeah.
George Strait breaks, according to Billboard, breaks all concert records. The largest U.S. ticketed show at Kyle Field at Texas A&M College in College Station on Saturday. Oh, yeah.
Cause it's the little things that mean an awful lot.
100. Are you playing some bumper music there? What is that bumper music? I don't know what it is. Oh, well, I don't know what it is. I thought you were playing some George Strait. Oh, okay. Anyway, 110,000 people, 110K people, right?
It's a lot,
and which is about 107,000 more. I thought you were going into some George Strait music there. I was waiting for it. It looks like that was the story playing on my computer here.
It's not usually my fault.
Listen to this.
It was pretty good. I heard some of the reports on the concert said everyone in the state of Texas showed up for the George Strait concert.
It's really incredible, and like the, just the resurgence and the enthusiasm. I think I know what Kenny Chesney was in St. Louis last week too. I saw a lot of folks out at that concert, and I know, I think we covered that there were some folks who had to cancel their summer tours, and folks are like, what's something at issue with concerts or people not buying concerts, whatever. But I think when the music's really good and the artist is really good, people are showing that they're going to show up and fill these places up, and it was really exciting to see.
Yeah. And at the Strait concert, Governor Abbott showed up. Ted Cruz showed up. I mean, it was a power-packed deal. So there you go. And speaking of legendary, iconic figures, here comes Brian Hauswirth.
I want Brian's take on this golf controversy yesterday. It wasn't a controversy, but just like a sad loss. And I mean, my Twitter feed was all, like 2 putts missed under 4 feet, and Brian looks distraught over it. Actually,
it's one of those things, Stephanie. It's interesting for people who have not played golf on TV. Those you're talking about, Rory McIlroy, of course. They look like they are, for lack of better terms, automatic, but they are anything but that. And I know he's taken a lot of criticism, but sometimes it just he clearly didn't read the line correctly, but he's one heck of a golfer. It's just it was kind of for him it's heartbreaking. For DeChambeau, it's a big deal, but those are definitely not automatic.
There's no
putts.
Such thing as a gimme. I mean,
no, not.
I guess if it's 6 inches from the cup, but I mean,
well,
otherwise.
These were 4 feet ish.
Yeah,
a couple of 4-footers. Yeah,
and that's considered pretty short. It's just and one lipped out, one it's just.
I don't play a lot of golf, but those are the ones that scare me. I mean, if you're 20 feet away, it's okay. If you make it, it's a big day, right? If you're a foot away, whatever, pick it up and okay, it's a gimme. Those are the ones that sort of, everyone's sort of assuming. People are beginning to walk off the green. They're thinking about the next hole. That's the one. That's the one that can get you in trouble.
Well, and the other thing, too, you're exactly right, Randy, on that. And to Stephanie's point, when you're in a situation like that, it's different than if we're out on a golf course right now and we're reading the greens and everything. People behind us are probably going to get a little antsy. Rory McIlroy probably could have taken a little more time on a couple. I think he could have.
Hot take, Brian.
Well, he was 2 strokes up when he went into it, right, Brian?
And I'm not being critical. I'm just saying there's nobody at that tournament that's going to say, Rory, you need to get your putt. I mean, he would have had time to do it. Hindsight's 20/20, though. He's still a phenomenal golfer.
He choked. Okay, Kevin.
we go.
Okay, Kevin, you're up on Wake Up Mid-Missouri.
Okay, on this paroled immigrant, all this does is it keeps them from having deportation acted. They still have to go to USCIS to apply for a green card, which is going to take about 18 months, and then after 5 years, they can apply for citizenship. So they're not going to be allowed to vote.
Well, eventually they would be.
Eventually they would be.
Yeah. I mean, I think they're playing the long game. They're playing the long game here.
Yes, they are.
Yeah.
And the smart move for Republicans would be anyone who entered illegally can get a green card but will never be a citizen or have voting rights.
Yep. It's a simple and easy statute that they could just one and done. You're right. I mean, look.
And here's the thing. Then you would see Democrats not wanting people to come across the border.
Sure. Right. Things would change. All right. Thanks for that.
So
You're right.
It can be 5.5 years or 6 years before.
Okay. Thanks for that little technical update there. That's good. 573-874-9390. Brian, you're reporting on some news that we're going to have to unpack a little bit later, but some news coming out about this terrible rape and case that occurred near the Mizzou campus.
Well, in again, I've got details up on the website. It's 93nowtheeagle.com. I believe I have it on the KWS.com website. I just warn everybody the court documents are graphic, but the essential theme here is that this suspect, who has ties to the St. Louis area, his name is Nicholas Matthews, 22 years old. He, according to court documents, he followed this young woman, home to an apartment building from the Mizzou campus, from the Turner parking garage near the Newman Center on April 2nd. He's accused of sexually assaulting her. And then he's also, court documents say he has urges to assault women. He allegedly told the police that he's followed other women and other vehicles before. So the court docs are they're deeply disturbing. And anyway, he is going to be back in court on July the 8th. The victim was attacked. She did suffer scratches, other injuries as well.
And others have been at risk.
Others have been at risk.
That's the scary thing.
That's the only incident that we're aware of, but the investigation is continuing, and he is jailed without bond. The prosecutors consider him a danger to the community.
Yeah, wow. Okay, so terror in our midst, right? In one way or another. It's terror in our midst.
Right here in Columbia, right here in mid-Missouri.
All right. Well, we're glad you all are in from the busy the Father's Day weekend with lots of families, lots of gatherings, and beer, chicken, and ribs and other things going on.
fundraiser where Obama had to shuffle Joe off the stage this weekend. That there was some discussion about the court and, how many appointments this next president might get and all, and so it is coming into focus, especially after this is the end of the term. So we're getting a lot of opinions. We got several opinions last week. We're going to get several more this week. And the latest that we haven't really had a chance to talk about yet is Friday. The Supreme Court struck down the bump stock ban. Now, that was a Trump era rule. And it doesn't really get into Second Amendment stuff. What happened was that, the question was really, is the rule within the scope of the law that Congress passed? Because, of course, Congress is supposed to pass the law, and the agencies are supposed to put out rules that are within the scope of that. Now, what we know from and this was a unanimous decision, but what we know is Democrats are already taking aim at the bump stock ban. Chuck Schumer on the Sunday show said they're ready to bring legislation to restore a bump stock ban following the court's decision. But obviously, the court's been taking a lot of heat about this decision since Friday, and I foresee that as more decisions come down, they will continue to be in focus. At the same time, as we're watching 2024, the polling numbers are actually looking pretty good for Trump, actually really good, better than I expected. There are some conversations about whether Republicans can win the Senate, and they're really focusing on these seats in Montana and Ohio as potential targets. And Trump is throwing his weight behind some folks to try to see if we can't win it all, which would be really amazing. At the same time, Biden and Harris are playing defense. They announced a huge media buy by their campaign ahead of this June debate. And the debate, or the ad, is a 30-second ad, and it's going to really focus on quote unquote character matters. And we've had this debate on this show before about, can you hold your nose and vote for someone who's maybe doesn't have the best character, but will govern conservatively? And I'm just thinking, if you're voting for Trump, you've probably already answered the question of whether character matters. And you probably are already holding your nose. And so I think that's lighting money on fire. I don't think that moves the needle for them.
I don't know. I think it's, again, they have to be looking at 5 states and 20 counties. I mean, it's just a small group of people, really. And maybe they've done some research into the demographics and, the kind of attitudes and maybe the listening habits. Maybe they're even looking at people's Facebook posts. I don't know. I mean, they've got to have some reason to do that because you're right. I mean, people have already planted their stake on whether they're going to vote against a guy just because of something he says or does, rather than his policy positions.
That's right. Well, it's making me ever more excited that they're so amped up about the debate that they're putting out these ads before the debate for our big debate watch party that's coming up. And actually, we found out more. We're not going to have time here.
watch party, which is next Thursday. I mean, we're just a week and a little change shy of that. Next Thursday evening at Lakeside Ashland, a fantastic venue to do this. I mean, this is going to be a great event. And not only will we be watching the event, you can rub shoulders with the campaigns. Several of them will be there. And Stephanie, we can't forget, and I'm sure Scott will talk about it as well, the great popcorn and the butter. The buttered popcorn is a huge thing as well.
I'd like to think that people are registering to hang out with us, but I have a feeling the unlimited popcorn. Now, the popcorn you will have to purchase. You
got to purchase that.
But it's like an art. I've never seen anything. I mean, Scott Faughn talked about it, but it's like something I've never seen before. I mean, it's like an automatic soda machine, but like for popcorn.
It's amazing.
And butter.
And there'll be a T-shirt, political T-shirt contest, right?
Yes.
And you have some other surprises in store. You have some giveaways.
We have some giveaways. I have an OG official MAGA hat that I got at CPAC from the Trump store.
Wow.
And I have a cute little Trump bust. So we'll be giving away some prizes.
And some merch.
Yeah.
That is available for purchase.
You will have some merch, or we will have new merch out, and it'll be your first opportunity to see it and to obtain it.
Very cool.
So you're going to want to get there early. And I know some people, like I've got friends who, obviously if you got a family, it can be a little bit late. Like I think the debate starts at 8. Is that right? 8?
Yeah, 8 Central.
8 Central, 9 Eastern. So that's a little late for my friends. We're gonna open the gates.
It's a little late for this friend.
Yeah, we're gonna open the gates about an hour before though, and go ahead and start the event. So if you just want to come and hang out, and you need to duck out for an early bedtime, not you, Hannah. That's cool too. We'd love to have you for that first hour to meet and greet and see some of the candidates and see us. And so you're welcome to come for as little or as long as you can, but we'd love to see you.
And the rules are out. CNN has released the rules of the debate. It's going to be 90 minutes with 2 breaks. They said that they will ask Jake Tapper and Dana Bash to use all of the tools at their discretion to keep order, something like that. That's a pretty close paraphrase. And the mics will be muted when the individual who has been asked to speak or whose turn it is to speak is the other one's mic will be muted. And so it'll be interesting. I mean, remember that big moment in the debate with Hillary Clinton when she said something about Trump and then he said, well, you'd be in jail. Remember, it was one of those spontaneous moments. That kind of a thing is not likely to happen.
It's not. And I know, I mean, sometimes, how much does Trump really need to say words where he can just he's very animated. So I can see like some gestures and some facial expressions. So I'm hoping that they keep the camera on him because I think he's going to find a way around this. But yeah.
I think he'll be shouting for effect in the background, even though his mic is muted and Biden's mic will still be hot. You'll be able to hear him.
Yeah. I think that's exactly right, John. Now, they've also said no props. And I was during the Republican presidential debates, there was some prop usage, and there was a couple of different times where the candidates had something and they held it up. Yeah. And I think there was like a map at one point, but then also, if you recall, so what they are saying is that they're going to get a notepad and a pen. They can't bring any notes themselves, but they do get a notepad and a pen. And I know one prop that folks were mad about, I think Ramaswamy wrote like Nikki corrupt and like held it up.
Right.
So I'm like, that could still be, I mean, if you give Trump a piece of paper and a pen, he might use it.
If it's a marker, like a Sharpie with a little broader tip on it, that could be pretty
visible.
He
might throw his water bottle at him, too.
I think most of these, most of the rules, I would say favor Biden because, again, the big one is that there's no studio audience.
Right.
And Trump just feeds off an audience like no one else. But I think he'll still be able to command the stage. The one thing that I thought, maybe the Trump folks lobbied for was that during the breaks, they're not going to be basically allowed to, I think, consult with their campaign.
That's right. They can't go back and talk with their handlers during the breaks.
Right.
Yeah.
And so, I think that is a win for the Trump folks because I think they could say, Biden, wake up, Biden, or here's your shot, Biden.
Biden can't get a little jab, you mean?
Right, or whatever.
A little juice jab.
And so, it's like if you're going to be the leader of the free world, then we expect you to be able to, stand on the stage and tell us what your thoughts are for 90 minutes. But
did you guys see that Trump was trying to say from behind a podium that Biden should submit to a cognitive test? And Trump tried to refer back to a cognitive test that he had taken, and he got the doctor's name wrong.
Yeah,
Did
Trump
you see
did,
that?
but just barely.
I know, but it's still ironic, right?
I think he should take a cognitive test like I did. I took a cognitive test and I aced it. Dr. Ronnie Johnson, does everyone know Ronnie Johnson, congressman from Texas? He was the White House doctor. And he said I was the healthiest president he feels in history. So I liked him very much immediately.
All right. Now, that's fair to say he got his own doctor's name wrong. It's Ronnie Jackson. He's now a congressman from Texas.
I just thought it was ironic in the context, right?
We've all misspoken.
Yes, but if we're going to be critical of Biden for doing similar things.
Oh, heck, we get Randy's name wrong here, you know?
Yeah. Randy.
But wait a minute. There's this to compare and contrast.
It can be defined in a single.
We hold these truths to be self-evident. All men and women created by you know the thing.
America is a nation that can be defined in a single word. I was in the foothills of the Himalayas with Xi Jinping.
She knows so long as she is denied, our freedom can never be secured. We'll never forget lying around and him lying around, actually.
Okay, I mean, come on now,
I'm just saying, fair is fair. Fair is fair.
Compare and contrast. No, that's right. I mean, well, you know, I got Trump's, I kept saying, I did it again over the weekend. Trump 48, it was his 48th birthday, his 78th birthday, because I think he was born in 40-something, you know. So, I mean, people will make mistakes. But I think the weight of the evidence is that Joe gets confused contemporaneously much more
If it wouldn't have been
often.
for Barack Obama, like you said, he'd still be standing on the stage at the fundraiser in L.A.
And the White House is trying to deny that. And defenders, sycophants for Joe Biden are saying, no, he didn't freeze. But if you watch that video, he's down there with, was it Jimmy Kimmel?
Yep.
And then Kimmel's to his right, Obama's to his left. They're ending, I guess they've all done their talking. It was sponsored by Clooney and his wife, right? I mean, I think they were the big drivers of this. And then, you know, he turns around, sort of faces the audience, and then he just freezes. And Barack had to grab him by the left arm.
And put his hand in the middle of his back and
yes.
and pushing like you would with somebody.
He had his hand on his back the whole time as they went stage right.
Yeah. It looked like what you see in a nursing home.
It was
when you literally, I mean, it's not like a normal, I mean, we've all kind of been like, hey, where are you going? And like a head nod, like, let's go this way. It's not like a drag off the stage, which is what Barack was doing.
And that on the heels of the Prime Minister, Maloney having to grab Biden, this time by the right arm, and get him from one parachute guy over to the others where the gaggle of all of the European leaders were. They're at the G7 conference. It's similar kind of movements. And I tell you, the staging is just not good. The optics are not good.
Yeah. And the other thing, I mean, you know, Biden's been, you know, out pretty active at these fundraisers and other things. Obviously, it's campaign season. But I'm wondering, like, is he going to go dark now for a week or two before the debate? Because obviously, you know, they're going to have to be doing some debate prep. You know, what are they going to be, I assume, doing whatever they did to him before the State of the Union and juicing him up on something. But I worry because there's so much going on in the world, right? And so does he have the capacity to prepare for a debate, run the country, and I'm sure he's still going to want to be campaigning. I don't think it's there. And
I think the fact that they allegedly cannot bring note cards onto the stage, right, and put them on the podium. He always he has note cards to tell him which one of the press corps to call on. And I think the questions are even sometimes previewed, aren't they?
I think that's right.
So I just, you wonder how he's going to do that. But, you know, he does have his moments of lucidity, but that's sort of the nature of cognitive decline, too. All of a sudden, it's just like, oh, okay, everything's okay for a few minutes. You know?
Right. But then you also wonder, are the Democrats somehow, you know, I'm putting my tinfoil hat on. And
Here we go. Buckle up.
You know, did they agree to this knowing that he's going to fail because, you know, and then they could, you know, they all come to this collective realization and say this just can't go on, and it gives them the ammunition they need to then at their convention swap him out with somebody else. I mean,
you also wonder the thing we've all talked about too, right after State of the union speech about he was, there were a lot of people going, man, he was juiced up on something as wound up as he was.
Yeah, yeah. And that angry Joe just keeps coming out more and more and more where and these little, it's like half a sentence. He speaks in very short quips, maybe 5-6 words, and the inflection and just the tonality of it. It's a very odd thing. He's always been a fairly mean-spirited person in certain venues. I remember him when he chaired the Judiciary Committee in the Senate hearings with Clarence Thomas. You go back and you look at those tapes. I mean, he's capable of some pretty vindictive, rhetoric. There's no doubt.
Yeah, I've never seen. Speaking my mind is rolling. Speaking of going back and seeing old videos, I haven't done a lot of going back and watching Trump like a long time ago. And someone had posted when he was on, I think, Oprah, and like a young Trump. And I've never really gotten the Trump, I know he's charismatic, but anyway, he was really, he was fitter, he had hair, he was real slick on the stage. And not that he's not now. I find him entertaining, but I don't really see that. I don't know. But I was like, wow, young Trump was I could see where people would be yeah.
Always been a playboy. I mean, that's what he was.
But right? I don't get that vibe from him. But this video, I was like, I saw how other people could, right? So I was like, oh, young Trump is an interesting perspective. I might go back and replay. And he said things back then about, Oprah asked him, would you ever consider running and all this? And I thought it was an interesting peek into his history.
He's always been a colorful figure, and he's been a great communicator. I mean, you may not like it, but it's still effective communication. There's a reason that The Apprentice was one of the top-rated shows while it was on, right?
Yeah,
he's a great communicator.
Well, and I listened to a recap from some of those Silicon Valley people from that last fundraiser that he took a whole bunch of grief about, or that these tech bros took a whole bunch of grief about, and have it. Trump was over at David Sachs's house and all of this, and they couldn't say enough about how entertaining and wonderful he was, and quick, and having met somebody one time, how he would relatable, and they said kind in a way that was disarming and really quite wonderful.
That's what you hear. He has a very engaging and actually a one-on-one, very warm personality. And then you see this fire breather when he's calling people names. But in a way, I think everyone just sort of now has processed that as that's his way of political meanness. I mean, political meanness is a reality. Look at the campaign commercials going on between, oh my gosh, Onder and Schaefer, and then Keogh and well, not so much Keogh, but I mean, you see some of these commercials. Well, that's his way of just being political mean.
Are you seeing any commercials?
Well, online.
I got a couple. I got a couple mail pieces to my house recently too.
There's one. There's one out now. I think an anti-Onder commercial about it has to do with taking off on an amendment that slipped. rare experience, right? I mean, that happens with the butter thing. My wife will not let me do that except once in a while. I get permission, like a late, birthday or Father's Day present. That's what it is.
And speaking of like a rare thing, I mean, the one question in my mind, I think they announced there would be 2 debates, but I wonder, I mean, is there going to be are we going to see Trump and Biden? Is this going to be the only time we see them face off?
You got to wonder. Probably depends on how it turns out. I mean, think about it.
That's true.
There's been some controversy. We have to ask Scott about that when he comes on, about the controversy about, accusations floating around that Mike Keogh is avoiding debate, but they say no, he has scheduled. Gabby, his spokeswoman, says no, he's got scheduled things going on, and Eigel and the others, and are saying no, we're ready to go. And I think there's one scheduled shortly in St. Louis. So I'd like to see gubernatorial bets, but remember, Eric Schmidt didn't debate. He avoided debates.
Well, I mean, there was a debate at a forum type thing at the Lincoln days. We saw that, and you can say what you want. You can go. I think it's still online. You can go watch it. I just, they put so many rules around these debates, especially at Lincoln days. They kind of just asked everyone the same question. It wasn't like a true debate. Which, if I'm a candidate, why would I? I'm getting out and seeing my people. I don't know that, and that's a good question. Is, do debates matter? Right. And that's what I took away from that article. I mean, and back to the Trump and Biden debate, is it going to change your mind? I mean, I think for Democrats, it might change their mind about whether or not they want to go forward with Biden. But, is anyone watching that going to flip from Trump to Biden or Biden to Trump? I don't think so.
Have to be careful, though. We don't want to count our chickens before they've hatched.
I'm not counting.
No, I'm not saying you are. I think many people are just assuming this is going to be a slam dunk for Trump. And remember, I think many people analyzed, the debates back in, 2020 that, Biden probably won on style.
I don't know about that, but I think that's an interesting question, is how do you move the needle for voters? And again, I do the legal side, not the political side, but I saw someone say, like, why are there, are billboards is it mail? Is it TV? Is it, is it the debate? Is it in, we talked with Scott Faughn, and I think he has an interesting perspective, like, do endorsements matter? And I think all of those questions, for me, I think we might learn something this election cycle with as many candidates
of This Week in Missouri Politics. He joins us now. How you doing, Scott? And happy Father's Day late.
Well, thank you very much. Had a great Father's Day. Got to do a little relaxing. We played a little ball. It was all around an outstanding day, so I appreciate it.
Hey, that's great. You didn't make any beer can chicken, did you?
I didn't make beer can chicken. Actually, Casey didn't let me make anything.
Really?
She made dinner, and
Wow.
I got to sit back and enjoy it. I felt like it was a flashback to 1950.
There you go, man. That's good. Did you get to smoke a cigar and drink some beer? And, like Ozzie Harriet.
Well, I tell you, it's one of those things where I could tell this joke because Casey is out in Festus today. But my dad told this joke one time, and it raised my mom. He goes, "You know, honey, why I've never bought you a watch?" And she goes, "Why? I've always wondered." He goes, "Well, there's a clock on the stove." Yeah. After that look on her face,
Ooh, ouch.
I never tell that joke unless Casey's at least 4 counties away.
Yeah, but you realize she does come back home eventually, right?
Maybe.
I'm counting on Missouri to keep my secret.
Well, we are looking forward to our big debate watch event, which I know you are planning to attend. And we're having a little bit of a debate of our own this morning about whether debates really matter. And I know there was an article, about when and whether and who said yes to what gubernatorial debate. And I know you've also been talking about this attorney general debate. So, give us your thoughts on these quote unquote debates and, whether or not they matter for Missouri.
There are rules. This is just life, right? There are rules in life for Trump, and there are rules in life for the other millions of people out there, right? And the rule, in my opinion, the rule for Donald Trump is, yes, it can matter because people will pay attention because he will be interesting. And for everyone else, not really. You have to really screw up or really do great to get noticed. I've moderated a bunch of debates. I'll give you my take on the gubernatorial one. But the truth is, Trump is just different, man. I remember when he said Jeb Bush is a wuss, and I'm looking at Jeb Bush, and I'm like, yes, I agree with you. I think that guy's a wuss. He said crazy Rand Paul. I'm like, yeah, he does look crazy to me. And he said little Marco, and I'm like, he is quite small. Trump is just different. He's just different than everybody else. There are rules for regular people, and there are rules for Donald Trump, and they are different. Donald Trump's debate will matter. I'll watch it. I don't even watch a lot of debates, the truth, but I'm going to watch it because I don't know what he's going to say. Joe Biden could kill over. He could stroke out. He could stand there and look like he's 90, like he does on all those video clips. I mean, who's going to lead Joe Biden out to the stage? I mean, are they going to put the tennis balls on his walker? There's all sorts of interesting things. Like when he first said and also I think it's important to say, this is at Lakeside Ashland, right?
Oh, yeah.
The popcorn machine will be on, right?
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
You and I will be. You and I will be having a WWE event there, no doubt, trying to fight our way to the machine. There's no doubt about that.
Oh, I'm going to tell you, Missouri. Listen to me. I'm serious. If you don't like politics, that's cool. If you don't want to hear Trump and Biden, that's fine. Go to Lakeside Ashland with a popcorn machine. Listen to your friend. If you ever see me on television, you can visually see that I know what I'm talking about here. Go for the popcorn machine. It is that good. You will be like, Scott, I didn't care about the debate, but I sit there. That popcorn machine was worth going. It is the best popcorn machine, not just in Missouri, in the world.
Wow. Big endorsement there from
Scott,
Mr. Faughn.
But we do have,
great.
but concerning the gubernatorial candidates, I mean, we've got some colorful candidates. I mean, Eigel, certainly. You've got, Jay Ashcroft can certainly, be colorful. Mike Keogh, I think, is more, subdued. He's more moderate in his demeanor.
Jay Ashcroft is not colorful. You're being nice. Bill Eigel will say crazy stuff because Bill Eigel's in third place and he can. So Bill will say whatever, and Bill is good. Bill is really good. Mike Kehoe's great at dinner or having a beer.
Yeah.
I don't think in the debate stage Kehoe's going to be interesting. And Jay Ashcroft is not interesting. You're killing me.
I think he's good. No, I like Jay. No, Jay. You know what I like about Jay?
I like Jay Ashcroft, but I'm not like, he's going to say something crazy.
I like Jay. It's like Jay maybe once in a while needs to get his suit pressed a little bit, maybe a couple of days, earlier. And it just...
I would let Jay watch Gussie. Jay's a great guy.
Jay just
he's
is like
Jay's
like an everyday guy, I like Jay's presentation.
He's boring.
Jay's not slick at all. I think Mike Keogh is very polished when he gives presentations, when he joins us here in the air. They all bring a lot to the table. I think a debate would be fabulous. I'd love to see one.
I think a debate would be a Bill Eigel sporting clay shoot. I think Jay Ashcroft's a great guy and a serious guy. And great guy and serious guy does not make for a good debate in the world of Donald Trump, where you literally have to talk about the size of your hands in relation to other parts of your body to get anybody to care. I don't think J.S. was going to do that. Bill Eigel would totally do that. Bill is a performance artist. Bill will do whatever the situation calls for to get attention. And that's if you're moderating a debate, you want that because people will watch, and then you're like, okay, how do I keep it fair and keep it moderated? So it's a double-edged sword.
Yeah.
Do I think Mike Keogh wants to be in the debate? If you had triple the money, which I think we're getting close to, of both of your opponents combined, you'd want the only thing on TV to be your commercials because those two guys don't have enough money to get on TV. And I think that's what it came down to. I mean, I was in talks with all these campaigns. Bill Eigel, fantastic debater, nothing to lose, gonna swing from his heels and say all the great stuff that would make great clips. Jay Ashcroft, I think Jay's got a way of taking Bill's over the top stuff and using it against him from that everyman angle. I don't know that he has as much to gain, but I think if you're Jay Ashcroft, just keep saying the name Ashcroft. It doesn't even matter how. And if you're Mike Kehoe, okay, you have the momentum in this race. I think it's an accepted fact. You have momentum. You're pushing forward. You've got all the money to spend. Your opponents can't seem to raise a dime. I think the trial attorneys will come in for Eigel here in this week. If you want the truth, there'll be some sizable checks from the trial lawyers. It won't be enough to get him to competitive. It'll get him to catch up with Ashcroft. Ashcroft's jetting all over the place trying to grab any dollar he can. The fact of the matter is this: Mike Kehoe's impressive. If you're the most charismatic person at dinner is Mike Kehoe. And you believe in him, and that's why people with money are writing him large checks, and that's why he doesn't need to share debate things because he can just buy the TV time. The other two have to kind of earn it this way.
Now the
question's going to be: do you have the debate without Kehoe? That's the question.
The others would say, I mean, they're more populist candidates, right? And they would say that Kehoe's establishment, and so that's sort of their angle on the whole deal. No?
Okay, can you be a populist if your daddy was the United States Attorney General?
But that's what I'm saying. Jay doesn't.
It's almost like Eric Greitens being populist. He was a Rhodes Scholar. I'm like, no.
I don't know. I just don't think Jay's demeanor. I think he really does a good job of sort of defeating that elitist attitude that may come at him. But because he seems like a real plain Joe. When you meet him and when you talk to him.
Totally agree. Jay Ashcroft is such a fundamentally good person.
He is a decent guy.
You would know his daddy was a general at the American Legion Hall, much less the United States Attorney General. Jay Ashcroft's one of the best people. Look, if somebody's going to watch your kid, you'd want Jay to do it. He's that good of a dude.
Yeah.
But you got to meet him to get it to come off and experience that. Yeah. I just don't think you can claim that you're some I mean, I watched Will Sharp complain about the establishment's out to get him. I'm like, you went to Harvard. What are you talking about, you whiner? I went to SEMO. The establishment might be out to get a SEMO grad. I don't think the establishment, whoever that is out to get a Harvard grad. These people are victims of whiners, and it gets funny. If you're a two-term Missouri State Senator, I'm sorry, they give you a pin that says State Senate. Might as well say establishment. None of these three are outsiders. They're all the most insiders you can get. Yeah. If you want an outsider, there's a guy from Joplin, a truck driver or something that's running. Vote for that guy. He's an outsider. The rest of them are just preening and whining. And if you're dumb enough to buy it, you're dumb enough to deserve what you get.
Scott Faughn joins us on Wake Up Mid-Missouri.
Scott, we had the governor in with us the other day and asked him our stock question about, Governor, are you going to call him back for a special session and all? He didn't turn it down and said, if they can't get the supplemental budget done. And I think he said to the press repeatedly, he doesn't want to drop that bombshell on the next governor's desk. So do you think he'll bring them back?
Well, this is my white trash opinion and my side of knowledge. I had him on the midweek update. We said hogs, dogs, and logs. I don't think it's any secret he supports Mike Kehoe. I don't think he thinks the other two are particularly being serious. I think everybody knows this state budget did not fund the state. It's just not real. It was made so that some people could say we cut X dollars from the budget. Until the supplemental, I guess you did. Again, it's one of those things, if you're dumb enough to believe it, you're dumb enough to deserve what you get. If Mike Kehoe wins this election, yes, I think Mike Parson will try to solve the budget problem before he gets there. If one of the other two win, I think he'll let them deal with it. And the dirty secret will be they won't deal with it. And if you're a nurse right now, you won't probably have a paycheck come, this is being very conservative, April. probably sooner, and because they're sitting around Medicaid money. So I think he'll fix it for Kehoe. And even if he can't fix it, he'll raise the issue so Kehoe has more legitimacy to come in and pass a supplemental. If it's one of the other two, I think he'll be like, well, you experts shouldn't have criticized me. Here you go with it, bud.
Scott Faughn is our guest live with us here on Wake Up Mid-Missouri, and we appreciate his time. I talked to the governor, obviously, about the I-70 interchange. There were a lot of other reporters there. Scott, I mean, a lot, probably 20. I've never seen that many, at least in recent memory. But one of the other reporters did ask the governor about charter schools in Boone County, and the governor made it clear he's very proud of that bill. What are your thoughts on that bill, the importance of it?
It is important. I mean, look, Columbia Public Schools in the legislature is very tough to defend. The people that get elected from Columbia on the Republican side, they openly attack it. The Democrats, I'm telling you, as a person, I used to argue with Stephanie and be like, oh, come on now, it ain't that bad. And her best pushback was Columbia, and I'm like, let's talk about something else. Because it's very hard to defend Columbia Public Schools. The numbers aren't necessarily there. Right in the middle of the debate 2 years ago, on should there be a charter school, they took the kids to a drag show. And look, I'm not a person that hates on people in the trans community, but I am going to tell you, don't take my kid to one. I'll decide how I talk about that. It's hard to defend. And here's my take on Columbia charter schools. Caleb Broughton is such a great leader in this state. He dedicated such a huge chunk of the prime of his life to serving the state so well. He hates that school, hates them. He hates them like Lex Luthor hates Superman, hates them. And if that's the one thing he wanted, which it really was the only thing he really wanted to do, I say he had done so much for the state. Good for Caleb Broughton. He deserved it. Do I think it's going to work out? I think it'll work out for the kids to get into the charter school. Probably will. I think the problem is you do take resources away from public education when you do this. Does the overall plucking these kids out and helping them, is it the overall good move? I guess that's why they make the big bucks of $35,000 a year. I personally think they're to the point where so many people have met that administrator that they just can't stand. DESE will do nothing. The alphabet soup of education groups, all those groups that lobby, all they want to do, they remind me of the Sheriff Bar Brady on South Park. Nothing to see here, looky-loos, move along. They want to pretend like there's no problems. I think if Carla Esslinger doesn't come up with a way to confront the worst 5% of superintendents, then there'll be open school choice. We'll be Arkansas, and maybe that'll be good. I don't think it can be worse than it is now. And again, I always have to admit, just to being a fair hillbilly, Stephanie, you were right. I was wrong. You were smart. I'm stupid. You were attractive. I'm very unfortunate.
Wow.
Monday on Wake Up.
Now, Randy, you give me a lot of grief for my internet usage, and I often have argued that I can learn anything on the internet, right?
This is true.
If I have a question, I can Google it.
Immediate.
If I need to learn how to do something, I can look it up on YouTube. But some people are trying to use social media in instances of medical emergencies, and it doesn't always work out well for them. Specifically on videos where they're trying to learn how to do CPR from a YouTube video, and YouTube puts those really lovely ads before their videos, right? So, I mean, just this morning, Randy, you were a victim of an ad that played before a video started.
Right.
You know, they're not like the Wake Up Mid-Missouri podcast that gets posted without the commercials. They add commercials. When you're in a medical emergency situation and you're trying to save someone's life, those ads cut valuable time off of what you're trying to accomplish. And folks in Germany are saying that it's already contributed to at least one person's death, just losing that valuable time, because you can't always click the skip button, right? Sometimes on ads, it'll play a few seconds and then you can click the skip ad button.
I have premium. I don't watch any ads.
Oh, well. So folks are saying, hey, YouTube, maybe on videos where you're teaching how to do things like CPR or maybe the Heimlich, things like that, maybe you shouldn't put those ads on there. Just a thought.
So you're, okay.
But maybe you should, like, if you're around people who might need CPR, which is everybody, maybe you should, like, take the class.
Well, that too.
As opposed to be Googling it in the moment when someone's life is at risk. I mean, I spend a lot of time doing like events at my church there for a long time, and the population's getting older, and I had folks that I worked with that were older. I have older parents, and I signed up for a Red Cross class, and it just occurred to me, I'm like, I need to do that again because it's probably been 5 years. But I really was, and we had 2 separate health incidents in like 6 months, and I was like, I got to take the class.
It's a good thing to do. I think it's a good thing for at least one member of every family to have some BLS training. You can get basic life support training. And, some of you can do the online portion of it, the didactic portion, and then you can go and get the, you press on, Risasa Annie and all that.
And it's changed a little bit since I remember doing it.
Yeah, they don't teach breaths anymore.
Not at all.
Yeah, well, if you're in a 2-person situation, you can do that. But, it's a good idea but then you should carry a little pocket mask with you if you're going to do that. You can get those. Sometimes at health fairs, they hand those out.
Check that on how to run the AED as well.
That's right.
And they also make gadgets. I see a lot of people putting these on baby registries now to
Day weekend. Did you guys have a great celebration, Madam Mayor?
It was good. Yeah, it was good. And I got together with my husband and his family and his dad and brothers, and so it was really lovely to get to celebrate them.
Did you?
How about you?
Well, I had a very extravagant meal. It took me a long time to prepare. That's the one day I like to really take and really spend a lot of time. So I made a beer can chicken.
Oh, okay. The irony that on Father's Day, the fathers actually do more work for cooking, but I think they love it. I think they do.
Yeah, the grilling is therapeutic. It's therapeutic,
It is.
Hey,
the caveman in you.
It's the caveman, no doubt about it. Hey, so we have a meeting tonight at the council meeting.
We do.
What are the highlights that you're looking at this evening?
This is actually, well, hold on. I'm not near wood, but let me knock on it if I could. This appears to be somewhat of a short meeting. We have a few zoning annexations and zoning on our east side for new housing development for single-family homes coming on. We've got, on the consent agenda, we've got an approval for the next part of our agreement with our firefighters for a step in their pay, both right now as well as when the fiscal year 25 starts. So that will be good. That's the third agreement, or amendment to their agreement, their final contract. So it's good to see these things coming forward for us. And then we have a donation of a piano on the report section. This is definitely a unique one. A resident is getting rid of a small baby grand piano and wants to give it to the city.
Well, maybe that can go in that historic building that used to house the black jazz musicians. Hasn't there been a purchase of that? Where are we on that?
Yeah. So we have a task force. They had an open house actually on Saturday after the Juneteenth parade for people to come by and see the space and give us some feedback on potential uses for it. And so actually in the council memo tonight, it's like, if we decide we want to, we could put this piano in the McKinney building. So we're open for ideas.
Are you watching anything state budget-wise? I know there's a lot of discussion going on about the state budget, and the governor certainly has some ability still to do some line-item vetoes. Are there projects in there that you hope stay in there? And, are there projects you're identifying already for next session that you're going to try to work with the state to help fund?
Yeah, definitely. So there's one item in there that has me very excited, and we're hoping it stays in. It is a line item that is going towards MoDOT for helping with some of the additional needs at our 6370 interchange. One of the things that we've noticed in the past is that a lack of sidewalks on both sides, as well as some increase in lighting for some of the underpasses for safety. And so in the budget right now, Senator Rowden had requested a certain line item in there. And we're hoping that stays in and that can go towards those improvements to that intersection just to make it safer for people to get around. And I also know from talking to our Columbia Police Department, they definitely need more lighting on some of those underpasses as they go, just to make sure that people are not loitering under there and we're staying safe.
Mayor, talk to us about the Office of Violence Prevention, how that's set up and what that could potentially mean for all the violence in the community.
Yeah. So this is something that the city manager is taking the lead on at the request of council. And really it's this idea of convening together the different groups that are working in this space, right? So it's working with our law enforcement agencies, our public health officials, but also those who are working in the neighborhoods, right? We've got great groups like Destiny of Hope who are working with students who are at the risk of being suspended or expelled from school, working with them to try to convene and interrupt before those kids get out of the school system and maybe choose a different path. So bringing together those groups and those survivors that we've had from violent offenses and really figuring out how do we help interrupt some of this violence so that my police can respond to big issues, but preferably have more resources for them.
Mayor, I'd like to ask you about this the water plant and Bowen Engineering out of Granite City is expected to begin work on some restoration of the treatment capacity. And we seem to have an earlier than usual heat wave here in last week especially. So talk to us about that. It's been 6 years that the voters approved that nearly $43 million bond issue. Finally getting some movement on that.
Yeah, we are. And I encourage people, there's this timeline on the website where we look at the water treatment plant and like when is everything supposed to happen. It's amazing how complicated it's not, right? You want it to be safe, but how many different hoops we have to jump through to get a project like this going. So if you see right now, we're starting with the improvements that are needed at the water treatment plant. If you look on this, the pandemic obviously gave us a little bit of a pause on this because we couldn't do some of the work and then we had issues getting some of the materials. But talking with staff, we know that one of the things that we're looking forward to in the next year is to actually see that work start. Now, I will say, do I think that communications could be improved from the utility? Yes. This is one of the things that we bring up at council meetings often is like, hey, if there's a stall in a project, you have to tell us, right? You have to tell the voters. And then we also knew that in order for us to sell the second half of the bonds, we had to increase water rates. And our water bonds are actually tied to both the electric and the water utility. And so when that happens, that means that when they're going to grade our bonds, they're going to look at, well, do you have guaranteed revenue coming back? And what are you doing with significant or incremental rate increases? We know from previous years, previous councils had not voted to do rate increases. And I understand, right? Rate increases obviously affect especially our low income, but everybody who are paying their bills. And so for me, it's like, what can we do that's maybe small incremental increases, maybe annually or biannually, depending on when we need them, so that it's not affecting us as much, but that we're in a better financial status when we do go to sell those bonds. So that's what we're dealing with now. We sold the bonds in December. Now we're moving forward, and hopefully we'll see some improvement soon.
Does this whole bond issue, complexity, and the project around it that it's funding, does that include the water tower issue? There seems to be a lot of consternation about the water tower.
Yeah, if you know a piece of land that somebody would like a water tower on and their neighbors would like it, please give me a call. This is one of the issues. We've had the water tower on the project for a while. I am happy to say that I am hearing movement on this. Obviously, with any sort of sale of real estate or purchase of real estate, that's something that's kept behind closed doors until we're able to make it public. So I will say I'm happy to hear that we are seeing progress there.
Okay, and I know that the sunshine laws do protect those kind of negotiations so that, frankly, so the city can get the best deal, right? So,
right.
Let's be honest about that. And then when it's consummated, then it becomes public fare, right? Okay, good. Hey, well, thanks for that. Appreciate it. And we hope that the light and the water stay on and running because it's a lot of challenges in summer, and so we hope that happens. And it's going to be a hardship on people as things do warm up here, but I guess you're trying to calibrate that and make the pain as less painful as you can.
Well, and you know what I would say, Renee? I really encourage people to take advantage of every utility, regardless if it's, for-profit or a municipal utility. They all have programs in place, basically required to have programs in place to help you make your home more efficient or your water more efficient. And so really encouraging people to look into those programs and take advantage of them. Everything from like a 1% loan that you can use, as well as just rebates if you do a more efficient product in your house.
A 1% loan? Yep.
We have home energy efficiency loans that go between 1% and 3%, depending on like the term that you're using and what you're going for. So really encourage people to go to I think it's ColumbiaPowerPartners.com is where you can find all that information. That's once I guess you've decided on the project. How can you get some help determining where the most efficient return on your investment might be? Actually, that's where you start. So we have people that do a free energy assessment and water assessment. And then obviously we have certified contractors that we work with to help you, and they help you with getting your rebates. They help you with getting your loans, all of that work. So really encourage people to take advantage of those.
Good news. Good news. All right. Well, Mayor Barbara Buffaloe, thank you for being with us. Good luck at the meeting tonight. Look forward to our next convo next month.
Have a good Monday.
All right. You too. Take care. There she is. All right. Well, I can understand that. I mean, that's sort of not in my backyard kind of a thing when it comes to water towers, right?
Yeah.
I get that.
I mean, it's something that every local government, I think, struggles with.
Yeah.
Whether it be, a housing facility of some sort, whether it be a giant outdoor movie screen, whether it be a water tower. I mean, it's...
Farm field full of solar panels in Callaway County.
Yeah,
cellular tower. I mean, that same kind of deal.
We talk about it frequently on this program, and I had to kind of, I'm struggling with the words because I want to put it in the right word. But there is a facility that is doing some marijuana manufacturing, and it's going to be close to my neighborhood, but it's fully it's zoned for that. It's not violating any And would I prefer that it maybe be a little bit further away from me? Yeah, but
so you played some 3D chess.
Well, no, and that's been my argument all along. If it's zoned for that, if it's within our code, then it should apply fairly to everyone. And so we should allow these things to come in. And if we have an issue, then we need to, on the front end, change our code. It's the same with this, with the trash thing, and what was that, Kansas City? The landfill, and it's like, if people buy it and they're planning to do something, and then you're like, oh no, not now, then that's on you. You should have, thought about that and changed the zoning or changed your regulations earlier. Obviously, with the landfill, they did some kind of retroactive fixing there. But I think
Same debate that we've heard about the CAFOs.
Yeah.
When those go in and people are like, wow, this is a nuisance and it stinks and all. Said, well, maybe you're a little late to the table.
I remember when we had made our little sojourn for a decade and a half up to northeast Missouri from St. Louis. We bought a property that we were going to build on. We hadn't done our homework, and all of a sudden we found out, there was a guy that was going to put in a bunch of CAFOs around, and we retracted on that. They didn't end up going
This weird food news story involving an edible flying drone, which they claim could help deliver life-saving nutrition to disaster survivors. The small flying aircraft has its wings made from hexagonal rice cakes, presumably Quaker, fixed together with gelatin. They say the drones can deliver crucial supplies to people after natural disasters like flooding and earthquakes, but they only carry about 30% of their mass as payload. This one solves the problems by making the wings out of rice cakes. Next aim of the team to transform other parts of the currently non-edible pieces of the drone. Trying to get confirmation, but we don't think it's going to happen. Flight testing technically couldn't be done at Columbia Regional Airport because you can't fly drones at airports, even though they do have a ready supply of rice cakes in the terminal. But if they did go that route, they would need to be aware that Steph may have eaten all the caramel and chocolate ones and just left the cheddar and tomato basil ones left behind. So you know the rest of that story.
Oh, it's funny.
They've been on their game lately. They've had the good flavors in stock, so I've been really happy. And they actually did, you know how we talked to the folks who were bringing in is it Jackson Brothers? Like the vending there? They've actually painted on the wall where it's going to be.
Oh, so
cross your fingers.
Building out, maybe?
There might be food coming soon.
Yeah.
There you go.
You know, you're talking about drones. Did you see where New York is now using drones equipped with flotation devices? They've used them before to sort of surveil for sharks floating in the shallow waters, and now they're going to be dropping emergency flotation devices if they catch someone. I think they're equipped with thermal sensors or some kind of technology, so if someone's in trouble, then they can drop I think it's like a 4-foot, some type of a flotation device. So that's pretty cool. I mean, talk about technology potentially making a serious difference in our life. You know, sometimes we talk about technology and the negative impact it may have, but wow.
Edible drones.
Yeah. So the drone could not only drop the flotation device, but then because you've been struggling and thrashing around in the water, it could drop down a Gatorade and some rice cakes too,
And then the shark could eat the rice cakes instead of you.
Yeah, we're going to be heading down for our family vacation here in a couple of weeks and down to Destin area. And the kids are worked up over this. The reports of sharks, apparently they attacked 3 people down there in knee-deep water. And
you see them coming into the shallows.
2 ended up getting amputations, and the other one pretty mangled, and so I'm like, ugh.
And there were more reports, I think, in the last week of just folks were videoing that they could see the sharks in the shallow water.
I don't understand what that's coming from. Maybe we need to get a shark expert on the program and figure out what the heck that's all about. I don't know. Is it just because of the news cycle? Maybe these things have really, when you talk to the experts on shark attacks and on all the airplane disasters, we talk about the thing blowing out of the Boeing door, the emergency. I think maybe it's just our now unprecedented ability to spread news, to spread any negative event.
I don't know. I think when first reported those shark attacks, I think they said are really, really rare. And so it's pretty crazy that it happened 3 times in a week and that they're still seeing them. I believe.
I remember my days out on the West Coast and surfers would be out and the sharks would be body surfing right along the surfer.
And we're going to be hearing, too, more about this Boeing door blowout because I believe the Boeing CEO is going to be testifying tomorrow in Congress. So
that'll be interesting.
Yeah, especially with there's been several incidents since then, less serious, obviously, but...
You know what? When we come back, there's another thing that's been, we've talked about this Caitlin Clark, the WNBA, the things that are going on. I've heard some people, I'm not a basketball person, really. I don't understand the game a whole lot, never really followed a bunch. But we have an expert on basketball. Her name's producer Hannah. And we're going to ask,
no, it's not.
We're going to ask her about, I want maybe some audience feedback about this because actually look at this. Apparently there was another
really nasty foul.
But some are saying with Angel Reese. Is it Reese? Yeah. Man, I'm telling you, it's just something crazy. And we're going to get into that.
Another rookie, no less.
Yeah. I want you to know that we're following this this terrible case. My goodness, this Maryland woman that was murdered last year, and she was a mother of 5, by this guy who had been escaping prosecution for a murder in El Salvador. The sheriff up there got quite worked up and really called out the administration because he's an illegal immigrant. He crossed the border last year. This could have become a cold case, but they tied him to a crime in Los Angeles, and now they've really connected him with this murder of Rachel Moran. So we're following that. Joe Biden freezes during a celebrity fundraiser on Saturday night. And the White House denying it, but the video clearly shows that there was something weird, and Barack Obama had to grab him by the arm and escort him off the stage with his arm patting him on the back, sort of herding him, shepherding him. Mm-hmm. It's amazing. It's crazy.
Yeah, the wingman kind of became the winged? Is that however you want to flip that?
Yeah, it's just wild. And then this, we keep having this repeated deja vu all over again. Like it's like Caitlin Clark's not so funny Groundhog Day, where this other, she's a rookie. The other player, Angel
Reese,
yep.
Yes,
yeah, she's a rookie, and she's already been called out for a couple of rough fouls that have taken Caitlin to the floor, and she did it again over the weekend. But Serena Williams weighed in on it, right?
She did. She had lots to say for Caitlin Clark, but this I thought was the most powerful piece of advice that she had for her.
If people are negative, it's because they can't do what you do, basically, and hopefully she'll continue to do what she's doing.
So she's coming to Caitlin's defense.
Right. So she's written a book. They were kind of asking about the book, asking if Serena had any advice for Caitlin Clark, because we were talking off air, and Stephanie, you said that Serena Williams pretty much had the opposite of what Caitlin Clark is going through.
Yeah, I saw some other people's comparisons, and it's like, she was a black woman stepping into a mostly white sport, and here, a lot of folks are saying it's racism, and also, is it heterophobia against Caitlin Clark, that it's something more. And I think, I think we have to be careful because, again, like, I think there's probably, I would assume in these, just like in men's sports, that there's some sort of like rookie initiation where, you think you're hot stuff.
Yeah. And the foul that knocked Caitlin Clark to the floor 2 weeks ago, maybe, was from a veteran player,
yep.
Angel Reese, having a hard foul on Caitlin. It's rookie v. rookie in that circumstance. But Angel Reese, even during her last year in the NCAA, she was kind of sharing a spotlight in a way with Caitlin Clark. Mm-hmm. Reese played for LSU, and Angel kind of tried to make herself the villain, right? So she was doing things like bringing a crown to games.
Really?
And when LSU played Iowa, she set a crown on, Caitlin Clark's seat on the bench. Things like that. Like, she kind of embraced the villain role.
Little psyops.
And then was mad when she got treated as such. So it goes back even deeper than this play.
So that's in the category.
The Chicago Sky and the Fever are big rivals,
yes.
too.
So that's in the category of all publicity is good publicity, right? That's Angel's gambit there.
And I know, people give, pro wrestling gets a bad rap because it's all, but there's a lot, there's some entertainment aspects to professional sports.
Sure.
And obviously when more people are watching, they all make more money and get more deals and all of that. So I could see her playing up the villain role because it makes her more popular. But so I guess I'm thinking people have been a little bit too quick to jump immediately to be like, it's these, biases of one or the other or whatever. Yeah. I think right now I would still kind of chalk it up to rookie, just a little bit of jockeying
rough
for
and tumble
position.
Performance art.
I think if it persists and if it appears to only persist against Caitlin, then I think it would be time to call.
Now, John, from my amateur viewpoint, it appeared as though they were both going up under the net. They were going up she was going up to block the ball or swat the ball from Caitlin's hand, and And her hand, Angel's arm, brushed across Caitlin's head and neck, and she fell to the floor.
It didn't brush across it. She clobbered her with her forearm, knocked her to the floor.
Maybe to play devil's advocate a little bit, that is a situation under the hoop like that. I mean, that happens a lot between other players.
Yeah, that's true. I was in a pickup game one time where one of the guys was a state trooper on the other team, caught an elbow and had to go get stitches. So.
Well, and I think that's the take that I saw, John, was that folks were like, if this continues, she's going to actually get hurt. And I think people are expressing concerns like that. But like you said, John, it happens.
Am I mistaken, or did I caught just a little glimpse of her shaking her head as though she'd been dazed? Was that just me? But when I looked at the tape, it just appeared as though she may have been dazed, because I mean their noggin does hit the floor very often, or it hits
I don't know.
a chair.
She came right in and drained 2 free throws real quick afterwards, and since it was a flagrant foul, they retained possession as well. So it worked out good for the Fever.
Which that's the best middle finger you can give in that situation is
scoreboard.
Yeah.
I mean, and I think for her, if she plays into kind of this "I'm the victim" thing, I don't think we're going to see that from her, because I think she's just going to point to the score. Well, and point to the scoreboard and be like, "Look, I'm still like the best."
Well, and one of the reasons that I think people love Caitlin Clark so much, I mean, we're seeing it right now. She time and time again just takes the moral high ground.
I mean, she had a couple of fits there.
I mean, yes,
that were not very professional.
But for example, folks were crying in outrage when Caitlin didn't make the Team USA, Olympic basketball team. And Caitlin's response was just, I have something to work harder for the next Olympics. Like, you remember those things and they drive you to work harder. And that was all she really said. She didn't whine about not being selected. She just accepted it and said, things happen and I'm going to use this and grow from it.
Well, I think it's just interesting to watch the dynamics here, and she continues to take the high road, as you said, producer Hannah, and I think that's admirable. It really is. I mean, it speaks well of her. Now we know that you really treasure whatever Elon Musk does. You follow him closely, right, Stephanie?
She's an Elon fangirl.
Yeah.
I'm a stan. I love Elon.
Well,
Randy, do you know what stan means?
No.
It's just a fangirl, basically.
Oh, okay. I didn't know.
But for anyone who was like, what the heck is a stan, and why is Stephanie calling herself
S-T-A-N?
Stan? Yeah.
Is that an acronym?
I think it's like super fan, isn't it? Or like
kind of
initially.
Yeah, fan.
But not like
Stan
Stan the man.
Stalker and fan. Isn't that what it
Maybe
comes
that's...
Well, I think it is. I think it's Stalker fan.
Hang on, let me Google this here.
I mean, if you told me I was an Elon stalker, I'd probably own it. Not in like a creepy way.
If you're going to call me out for not knowing it, you should be able to tell me what it means. Where does this derive from?
All right. The dictionary says an overzealous or obsessive fan of a particular celebrity.
Stalker fan.
Stalker fan. I like that. Stalker fan. I'll take it. So Elon Musk, he retweets a Robert F. Kennedy Jr. tweet referencing Puerto Rico's primary elections just experienced hundreds of voting irregularities related to electronic voting machines, according to AP. And there was a paper trail, so the problem was identified and remedied. And Elon says this: we should eliminate electronic voting machines. The risk, and he should know, the risk of being hacked by humans or AI, while small, is still too high. So I mean, I think here in Missouri, that's on the ballot.
Well,
it'll be on the ballot.
In one of the things, if you look at the gubernatorial candidates, and there, of many of them, and I know Denny Hoskins has proposed paper ballots repeatedly. He represents Cooper County, our listening area. But Bill Eigel has carried that bill, the state senator from Weldon Springs, about paper ballots for Weldon Spring, singular, for years. I mean, he just believes that's the better way to do it. So we'll see. It used to be, I do remember a time where they did count them all paper ballot, but it's, we'll see what happens.
Well, isn't that along with the doing away with ranked choice voting? And isn't that the constitutional amendment provision? I thought that was part of that.
I'm not aware of it being on the ballot. I know it's been proposed. Again, there's so many different proposals out there. Stephanie, maybe but literally, you've got a bunch of things that they have petitions, most of which are not going to make it on the ballot.
No, I guess I'm wrong. I guess it was ranked choice and the non-citizen voting. I thought there was paper ballot.
Now, there may be somebody circulating a petition on it, but I mean, their best bet to do that would be...
yeah. If approved by voters, this is according to the Missouri Independent in May 17th. If approved by voters, Missouri would officially ban ranked choice voting and non-citizen voting. It would also confirm that elections only be carried out by paper ballot or any mechanical method prescribed by law. That's not that would be maybe the hanging chads, right?
I think that's
the punch the ticket thing.
Catherine Harris.
Well, and there was a big kickoff in Michigan over the weekend with Laura Trump and Michael Whatley, who's the chair of the RNC, and they were talking election integrity, and they said the RNC is like more committed now than ever to make sure that we have free and fair elections. This cycle, they said their goal is to attract, I think, 100,000 volunteers to place in polls and to watch over the elections. They said they're going to actually hire election integrity directors in 15 states to kind of direct this volunteer effort that they want, eyes on the ground and paying attention. I think that's the best way that we can protect our elections.
It will be interesting. Yeah. I mean, again, I know Denny Hoskins definitely has pushed that for years. And he has not had a whole lot of success getting it through. Bill
Didn't Ben Baker getting right in the middle of that too, the state representative?
He supports paper ballots as well, but it's been really a push primarily from on the Senate side. But yes, and there have been certainly support for that from the House as well. A lot of those bills, they just they go certain, and then sometimes they just die because there's just not enough time.
And I know Brian, John, Stephanie, Hannah, you guys have heard Shane Scholler in his various his stump speeches at the various Lincoln days. He talks about that repeatedly. How as the county clerk down in Greene County clerk, that there was a 1 or 2 vote contested race, and they counted what was like thousands of votes. They counted the paper ballots. They went back and looked to the source ballots and either confirm. I forget what the outcome was, but my point is, I think that's crucial to assure us that our elections have integrity.
And the race you're talking about is a race involving State Representative Betsy Faughn, who was running a very tight race, and it was just very, very close. It was within the margin, the 1%. He called both of the candidates, a Democrat and Republican, at the same time and invited them all in. Yeah. The media was there. Pretty impressive. Pretty impressive he did that. No one had anything bad to say about the job that Shane Scholler did on that. And Betsy Faughn, the Democrat, was declared the winner. Yes, he has done that. And I would add one thing about Shane Scholler. He narrowly beat Jason Kander in 2012 for Secretary of State. If he wins that race, I believe he would have been governor by now.
Yeah,
he was and still is. He's still a rising star in many ways, but he just that loss.
Monday Morning Bell. Stephanie Bell, what's going on?
Mixed results at the close of last week. The Dow and the S&P were just slightly down, with the NASDAQ just slightly positive. And this morning they have all, oh no, we're back. We're oscillating. The NASDAQ's flipping back and forth between green and red, with the Dow and the S&P in the red currently. As far as last week goes, we saw losses in the industrial sectors and materials on Friday. Technology and communication services were up. And so that can explain a little bit of the differences there. Now, Hannah turned me onto the story. I didn't know that it had become such a thing on social media, other than Trump has been added to TikTok. And he posted his first TikTok, and he was with Dana White, I think. And then he posted a second TikTok, and the second TikTok is him, and I always get this guy wrong, him and Logan Paul. And Logan Paul is a YouTuber and a fighter and an excellent marketer.
Was supposed to fight Mike Tyson.
Yes. And before I even knew what this stuff was, my kids were asking me for it. And I'm like, how do you even, they're like, Mom, can we get Prime now? This is a couple years ago. And I'm thinking, what is that? Like, what is that? They're like, it's the new and the better Gatorade. I'm like,
when parents were giving their kids energy drinks on accident.
Yes, you do have to be careful, because like the plastic bottle, not caffeinated. The can, even though they both say Prime, caffeinated, and so much caffeine that you really aren't supposed to give them to kids. So we don't buy the other kind of Prime, because I'm trying not to.
This is called Prime.
Yeah, leave that for radio producers.
Yes, energy drinks for Hannah and no one else. All right, so but when they filmed this TikTok, they had a big event at Mar-a-Lago. And there's actually, I'll show you, Randy, Trump branded. So Logan Paul's like printed up Trump labels, and it's like red, white, and blue. It even says Trump. Trump's holding it. He's smiling. They're all excited.
It's pretty cool.
And during the interview, they're actually, well-placed Prime bottles. But now I guess Logan Paul is getting some hate as well as Prime, because folks are like, you should boycott Prime because he's a Trump person. And I think it was important because didn't Logan Paul technically support Biden in the last election? So they're all,
probably.
He's and so I think that's right. And so now folks are real mad. And of course, he's very popular. He has like hundreds of thousands of YouTube subscribers. He
survived getting canceled several years ago.
Yeah, he's made some mistakes. Let's say that. Now they're saying, I guess during this interview, he doesn't even need his YouTube. During this interview, he said that his Prime Hydration brand made $1.2 billion last year. It's a huge business, and he's built this audience and capitalized on it. Obviously, he's fighting too, and he's got a lot of different things going. So to get that support, just that audience level, especially among young people, I think is huge for Trump.
Yeah, it's funny. Whatever he touches tends to turn into some gold, right?
Yeah.
Unless it's steaks.
Yeah.
I heard the wine wasn't that good either. I don't know.
The university.
The Trump wine and
he's
Trump
had
University.
some fails, but that's the point is shoot or shoot, right? And if if you shoot a lot, you're going to have some misses, but.
You're right.
Yeah.
the border, foreign policy, law and order. They start going to these trivial things and start taking pot shots at, they call them MAGA Republicans, but I would call them essentially just good patriots, patriotic citizens who know about our form of government. And so this reporter, I guess he's an Irish guy named Donny O'Sullivan, not Donnie, but Donny O'Sullivan, was out and doing sort of the man on the street thing, a man and woman on the street thing at a what looks like a Trump rally or maybe some event. A lot of MAGA hats, MAGA hats going on there. You don't like MAGA, MAGA hats.
MAGA is how I would say it, anyways.
I don't say make. I don't say make America. I say make America. So it'd be MAGA. Okay. At any rate.
You also say hammock.
Hammock.
And quarter.
And heretofore.
Yeah. So.
Now, John, the heat I take, the abuse.
Terrible.
It's
terrible.
It's almost like elder abuse here. I'm telling you.
No, that was Saturday.
Yeah, you're right. Okay, so he's exploring why Anderson Cooper went off on it, and then this guy got in people's faces when everyday Americans who know the form of government corrected him on it. Here's a little bit of that exchange.
Obviously, there's a lot of criticisms of Trump that he is bad for democracy, that he's bad for American democracy.
Okay, we are a republic.
We're a republic.
We are
we're
not a democracy.
Republic. We're not a democracy. One thing we've been hearing at Trump rallies like this over the past few months is that America isn't really a democracy.
America's not a democracy, it's a republic.
It's not a democracy. Okay, democracy is actually not as good as you think it is.
But for centuries, America has celebrated its democracy.
Democracy is worth dying for.
Okay, so it's an interesting discussion, isn't it? But I guess my larger point here is that is this the best CNN and anti-conservative, anti-traditional, anti-constitutional progressives can come up with, is to try to harp on people who try to correctly say this is a representative democracy, if you will. It's a constitutional republic. It is not a pure 50% plus one democracy. And I think that's the point that these people are making, right?
Well, America is a constitutional republic. I mean, it is.
And there's a difference.
That said, I understand what President Reagan was saying in that clip, but he cuts out, I remember him saying that, he cuts out some other stuff that President Reagan said, but the United States is a constitutional republic.
It certainly is. And I think it's interesting because I think the mainstream media likes to paint us MAGA people as like uneducated, toothless, whatever. And here you've got them getting schooled by our MAGA friends here. And I'm going to share, I was taking fun pictures of all the T-shirts that I saw at the Oliver Anthony concert, which again might as well have been a Trump rally, but this one I really liked. It's got a picture of the Constitution, and it says the Constitution doesn't need to be rewritten; it needs to be reread. And I think that person's right, and I think that person would have rightfully corrected a reporter.
Well, what has them all worked up is Article 4, Section 4 says the United States shall guarantee to every state in this union a capital R Republican form of government. And of course, they view that as kryptonite from the left. They can't make a distinction, right? That's sort of like sometimes in the creeds the churches say they will use little c Catholic to mean the Christian church. They don't mean the Vatican-run Catholic. You know what I mean? So these distinctions are lost on these elitists who blame us for being, like you say, uneducated, knuckle-dragging, smelly Walmart people.
Man, we learned in civics class that, the United States is a representative democracy where we elect our representatives to make the laws for us. In a pure democracy, I guess, it's just everybody.
Yeah, I don't understand the point of the story, whoever that was, and I don't know.
He was misinformed.
I mean,
it's almost as though they almost represent it as a conspiracy, to try to undo democracy because that fits with their narrative.
Well, if they were saying other stuff like we need, and again, I don't know, but if people were saying the government should be toppled, that's different. But if they were simply saying the United States is a constitutional republic, that is correct. I don't know.
This reporter sat down with an author, Ann Applebaum, whoever that is, and said, "Is America a democracy?" This author said America is a democracy. It was founded as a democracy. And then the reporter lamented, I've heard a lot of conspiracy theories. I hear a lot of things out on the road. But to hear Americans, people who would describe themselves as patriots, say that America is not a democracy, that stopped me in their tracks. You see, this is more of the narrative that people that follow Donald Trump and MAGA are trying to destroy democracy, right?
That's what we have a Constitution and a Bill of Rights, so they can't take away your unalienable rights. I mean, that's it in a nutshell.
Well, and that's an interesting, like, her interview that, like, oh, we're saying it's not a democracy. I think I'm wondering, like, as opposed to what, I don't know that she was being asked or that it was correctly framed to her. Like, if you had the choice between, if you were given a multiple choice test and democracy and constitutional republic were on there, which best describe, I think
absolutely
it's interesting. But like, you're right, Randy. I mean, like, what's the point of that? And I think it totally goes against their whole narrative of that. Yeah, we're uneducated and that we don't know what we're talking about.
But it goes along with their narrative that we are about creating an authoritarian regime with Donald Trump at the top,
yes,
and creating a king and ruining their construct of a democracy.
And I also think it's worth pointing out, I understand where they're coming from. I don't understand the story here, but when people say we live in a democracy, I get that. And even President Reagan said that. He just cut some things off. But to me, it technically is a constitutional republic.
And it's important. It's important because if we do get down to the framers specifically avoided a 50% plus one democracy because that would induce mob rule. That's mob rule, and that doesn't work out in the long run for anyone.
Steve's
and they knew that.
texting us. He said, "Yeah, the most pure forms of democracy are lynch mobs."
Yeah,
I mean, so you're right. You're right on there. But
if you want to get technical with the U.S., we're technically a representative democracy.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, that's true.
That makes
when
sense.
we think of democracy, we think of in terms of how it applies to our Republican form of government. It's that people do have a vote, that it's not by some council of Knights of the Round Table. I mean, that's not what it's about. Now, to leave you with this segment with a glowing, beautiful remembrance.
That was a chef's kiss for those of you who missed it. Our video feed we're struggling a little bit with today.
1980, Ronald.
Oh.
You think Donald Trump invented "Make America Great Again"? Think again.
The price of even a small home could be $200,000. And what about their parents trying to make ends meet right now? To stop inflation, we've got to put a ceiling on federal spending. We've got to crack down on waste, and we must lower our tax rates to encourage individual productivity. In California, where I was governor for 8 years, we went from near bankruptcy to financial help. We gave the taxpayers billions of dollars in tax relief, and we met the needs of our people. If we're going to stop inflation, we must do it now, not with bigger government. It takes better government. That's what we owe ourselves and our children. That's why I'm running for president.
Only one man has the proven experience we need. Ronald Reagan for president. Let's make America great again.
It's pretty powerful. That would have been 1980.
That was 1980,
right.
Ronald Reagan. And boy, do the circumstances and the conditions mirror what's happening today?
Well, there are similarities. I would argue there too. One of the big differences, all the auto plants in St. Louis were going gangbusters, even in the late 1970s. You had the Corvette factory that was still running. So the only plant left, the auto plant left in St. Louis, is out in Wentzville. So I will tell you, the union workers, my dad knew, they were all working in 1979. No, there was inflation, absolutely, all that. I think what was very powerful for the young people who heard that, they may not have caught it. He talked about when I was governor of California, California, folks, was a Republican state. Now, young people have they think I'm living in like outer space when I say that. It wasn't all that long ago. Richard Nixon and Ronald Reagan were out there, and Governor Reagan was governor and pretty popular. And that's I think if he hadn't been governor, he probably wouldn't have been the president.
And that's where innovation in in the arts, where Hollywood. I mean, that was all the stars went there. They built brands, and that was really a bastion of capitalism.
And I think you're seeing a swing back to that. I mean, a lot of these big tech bros, like they just had a big old fundraiser for Trump. A lot of them are saying, I can hold my nose on everything else, but when it comes to things like workers, like economy, like inflation, all these things, Trump's the right person for us. And reducing regulation, he's flipped on what EVs and crypto. He's open to crypto and all these different things, and they're thinking he's my guy now. So I'd be surprised if we don't see a huge shift in California this year.
Well, I mean, they're going to have to adapt, or they're going to die out there. I mean, they
elected Arnold.
Yeah,
yeah, but that's been many, many years ago, and of course he was kind of a moderate. But you're right. He defeated Gray Davis. That was 2003.
Now
John,
get Jerry Brown back again.
Caller John wants to weigh in. John, you're on Wake Up Mid Missouri. Welcome in.
Hey guys, it's a very important topic, and the left, it's all by design trying to change our minds, warp our minds, actually. I mean, we're not even a representative democracy. The United States is a constitutionally limited republic. It's more like a federation, hence the word federal, or confederation, hence the Articles of Confederation. It's a republic, a commonwealth, a federation. Has nothing to do with a democracy. We elect representatives, but it's a limited democracy.
Yeah.
No, not democracy, republic. A democracy itself is only limited by that one vote. The 51,
I think the democracy part of the reference because the reporter invoked Ronald Reagan and others talking about democracy.
Who did say it?
I think that speaks to the process of one man, one woman, one vote, right? I mean, that's what it's about.
Right, but voting is one of our rights, but it's been overemphasized. I mean, the rights to property, our legal rights, these are actually more important than voting.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so they want to get us to this point where it is 51% or mob rule.
Yeah, you got it. Thanks, John. Little civics lesson this morning, and that's good. Thank you, John.
It is good. I mean,
and you know what?
And I have a history degree. I not only have a journalism degree, I have a history degree, and I'll tell you, I think it brings back a lot of memories.
Wow.
And this
about it looks like the
Columbia, Missouri.
Did I say the Missouri Columbian? The Columbia, Missourian. I was trying to pop it up here.
Oh.
So now Tony Lupo, our friend Tony Lupo, had announced that previously that he was not going to be the head of the Boone County Republican Committee, right?
It's a lot of work, and I guess he's been serving for 8 years.
Tremendous amount of work to organize those events, MC. Tremendous work that Tony's done for that. But now, I guess the Lyra, is it Nose or Nosey? Nose? I don't know.
Sure.
Lyra? The Boone County Democratic Party chair gave notice Thursday of her resignation after 6 years in that role.
But that announcement was kind of
that was abrupt.
A surprise.
Yeah,
a surprise. And she cites that her choice was expedited, according to the Missourian, by controversy and internal conflict. Now, of course, they've been dealing with the alleged assault by a candidate a Democrat candidate here in Boone County, Dave Rathel, and that has been causing some extra division. But yeah, that's interesting because they should be. I mean, they've got additional House seats. They're going to get this Senate seat most likely with Stephen Weber. They should be all happy and things should be exciting for them right now. So to have this, I wonder what else is going on over there.
In a resignation letter, the Columbia Missourian reports she's going to focus on her, quote, mental health, family, and personal priorities. I wonder if the mental health is something separate from the stress of the political. It is just a grind to be in the political world, especially in this cycle, right? I mean, it's just a really torrential,
especially if you're
time.
At the chairman level.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and these folks were responsible. At least I know, Tony. Like there was a lot of work leading up to all the caucuses and all of those, things. So I mean, it's a lot of work during an election year, and especially if you've got egos and candidates. We say the more localer, the more importanter, but oftentimes the more localer, the more politicaler.
Yes,
because you got personalities and ego, and so scale back. From what you've seen at the federal level or the Missouri Senate, there's a lot of personalities there at the local level that can be tricky sometimes.
Get snipey and sometimes petty and. Sometimes the more local or the more dirtier.
Well,
it just gets messy.
And at this level, I mean, there's a lot of they have a lot of control. For example, when we saw Chuck Basie drop out there on the Republican side, the committee picks the candidate. I mean, these folks have a lot of sway and a lot of responsibility. So
And I didn't know this about Tony. We should talk to him before he leaves office there, or that volunteer position, not office, but a volunteer position with the Republican committee. I didn't know it, but he went to the Democrat, the equivalent of our Lincoln days. He goes to those. He's been to a couple of those. He organized lunch with Democrats, he says, because if you can be friends with somebody, then it's harder to call him a fink or a rat.
There you go.
So that's good. Yeah, it's good to see. And he said he went to the Jackson Day celebration, invited by a friend. He said, apparently it was reported, he said, your food is pretty good, Lupo said. He told surprised Democrats. I don't know if it's as good as that chili supper food. That's coming up in the fall, right?
I think so.
Yeah, that's fall. John, you have anything on your plate?
Yeah, it's an interesting story. A judge overruled the conviction of a St. Joseph woman who was a psych patient when she incriminated herself in a 1980 killing that her attorneys argue was actually committed by a now discredited police officer. She's been in prison for 43 years, and it looks like she may get out.
Oh, my goodness. Wow.
43 years.
Talk about redemption, huh?
Right.
Holy cow. Well, I hope that she got the mental health, treatment and resolution and remedy that now can return her to a rest of her life.